far from the dazzling lights and hustle of Los Angeles, in a quiet apartment in Sacramento, California, lived Sara. A talented graphic designer, 25 years old, Sara was trying to build a life for herself with her creative mind and hopeful eyes. In this vast, busy America, she was alone. Her parents lived in Florida, thousands of miles away, and her only older brother, Michael, was engrossed in the busy life of New York. Sara knew that in this huge city she was her only reliance. She had to fight her battles alone. This thought sometimes made her feel lonely, but she would tell herself that this was the reality of modern life. It was around 11 o'clock at night. After a long day's work, Sara had just laid down on her bed. She was reviewing the final touches of her new design project on her laptop. It was a logo design for an international brand, extremely important for her career. She was working with deep concentration. Around her, there was only the faint light of the laptop and the sound of her own breathing. Suddenly, a discomfort began in the left side of her chest. At first, she thought it might be due to fatigue, as she hadn't slept properly for the past few days due to work pressure. She turned on her side, closed her eyes, thinking that a little rest would make it better. But the discomfort quickly began to turn into pain. A sharp, piercing pain seemed to be rising from within her chest. Sara tried to get up from the bed but couldn't. Her limbs began to feel numb. A cold current seemed to run down her spine. She felt as if someone was squeezing her chest with both hands. It was difficult to breathe. Each breath felt like a battle. She realized this was no ordinary pain. She remembered reading an online article about the symptoms of a heart attack a few days ago. Pain in the left side of the chest, shortness of breath, sweating, numbness in the limbs. All the symptoms matched. Her body was drenched in sweat, as if she had just run a marathon. Her throat went dry with panic. She somehow managed to pick up her phone. Her fingers were trembling. It felt difficult even to hold the phone. The first name that came to her mind was her older brother, Michael. Michael, who always promised to protect her, who would rush to her side in any trouble during childhood. Sara quickly dialed Michael's number. The phone rang once, twice, thrice, but no one answered. Michael was busy partying with his friends in a bustling bar in New York. His phone's ringtone might have been drowned out by the loud music, or he might have intentionally ignored it, knowing that Sara usually didn't call so late. Sara was devastated. Tears welled up in her eyes. The intensity of the pain grew so much that her vision blurred. Her body was drenched in sweat. She tried again and again. Not once or twice, but she called Michael more than 10 times. But each time the result was the same. Voicemail or the call being cut off. She felt that at this moment of her life's greatest crisis, she was completely alone. Her family, from whom she expected the most help, was thousands of miles away, or perhaps close by, but still distant. The pain became so intense that Sara's body could no longer bear it. Her breathing became heavier, and a sharp groan of pain escaped her throat. The phone slipped from her hand and fell to the floor. The screen lit up, then went dark. Sara, pale with pain, collapsed onto the floor. The silence of her apartment seemed to amplify her helplessness. In the dazzling lights of Los Angeles, life was still moving, but a deep darkness had descended upon Sara's small apartment. She didn't know if she would ever see light from this darkness again. Her last thought was, "Am I going to die?" alone. Mrs. Jenkins lived on the floor directly below Sara's apartment. She was nearly 70, a retired nurse. Her life was routine, calm, and orderly. Every night before going to bed, she would drink a cup of herbal tea and read something light. That night was no exception. But suddenly, she heard an unusual sound from the upstairs apartment. First, a faint groan, then the sound of something heavy falling to the floor. Mrs. Jenkins was startled. She knew Sara lived in the apartment above, a quiet and polite girl. Such a sound was not normal. Her nursing experience told her that something was wrong. She quickly came out of her flat. Walking down the corridor to Sara's door, she knocked several times. No response. Inside, there was only silence. An unknown fear began to build in Mrs. Jenkins' mind. She knew Sara lived alone, and such a sound was not normal. She quickly called the building manager's number. Within minutes, the building manager arrived. Mrs. Jenkins quickly explained the situation to him. The manager used his master key to open Sara's apartment door. They went inside and saw Sara lying on the floor. Her body drenched in sweat, her face pale. Her phone lay beside her. Mrs. Jenkins quickly checked Sara's pulse. The pulse was very weak and her breathing was irregular. She realized Sara was having a heart attack. She quickly told the manager to call 911. Until the ambulance arrived, she began Sara's first aid. Her nursing experience proved invaluable at this moment. Within minutes, the siren of an ambulance was heard. The paramedics quickly entered and assessed Sara's condition. They swiftly put her on a stretcher and took her to the ambulance. Mrs. Jenkins also went to the hospital with them. She couldn't leave Sara alone. Upon arriving at Sacramento Medical Center, doctors quickly arranged for Sara's emergency surgery. Sara's life was saved because she reached the hospital in time. Mrs. Jenkins' timely action had pulled her back from the brink of death. For the next few hours, Mrs. Jenkins sat in the hospital waiting room. Sara's helpless face kept flashing before her eyes. She knew Sara was not alone, at least she was there for her. Sara regained consciousness. Her body was weak, but she was alive. The first face she saw was Mrs. Jenkins, an unknown neighbour who had done so much for her. Sara's mind was still preoccupied with thoughts of her family. Michael, her parents, did they know what had happened to her? Would they come? She asked Mrs. Jenkins in a weak voice. "Did Michael come? My parents?" Mrs. Jenkins hesitated slightly and said, "Sara, I called your brother Michael. The hospital also called him. He said he had urgent work in New York and couldn't come. And your parents, they live in Florida. They said it was difficult to get tickets, so they couldn't come." Sara's world seemed to crumble in an instant. The family she considered her greatest refuge had abandoned her in her time of dire need. She remembered how Michael used to protect her in childhood, how her parents used to fulfill her every whim. Today, those relationships seemed meaningless in an instant. A tear rolled down her cheek. She realized that blood relations were not everything. Meanwhile, a new problem arose: the hospital bill. Sara's insurance had some complications. According to her policy, she would have to bear some additional costs for serious illnesses like a heart attack. As Mrs. Jenkins looked at the bill papers, her face grew dark with worry. How would Sara pay such a large amount? Just then, a hospital social worker, Mr. Davidson, who was in charge of Sara's case, approached Mrs. Jenkins. Mr. Davidson was a compassionate and experienced man. He had heard Sara's entire story, especially the neglect from her family, which deeply affected him. He said, in a calm voice, "Mrs. Jenkins, I've heard everything. Don't worry about Sara's bill. I'm arranging for it to be paid from a special fund. We help many patients in such situations who don't have family support. You don't have to worry about Sara anymore." Mr. Davidson not only arranged for the bill to be paid, but also made arrangements for Sara's necessary rehabilitation. He spoke with Sara, gave her emotional support, and made her understand that she was not alone. In this unknown city, the sympathy received from these strangers ignited a new ray of hope in Sara's mind. When her own family rejected her, these unknown people stood by her side. After being discharged from the hospital, Sara moved into Mrs. Jenkins' house. She didn't have the physical or mental strength to return to her own apartment yet. Mrs. Jenkins took her in like her own daughter. Her small but warm apartment became a new sanctuary for Sara. Mrs. Jenkins not only took care of Sara's physical needs, but also tried to heal her emotional wounds. Every morning they would drink coffee together, and in the afternoons they would walk in the garden. Mrs. Jenkins would tell her life stories, and Sara would talk about her designs. Mr. Davidson also regularly checked on Sara. He monitored every step of her rehabilitation, ensuring that Sara recovered quickly. Slowly, Sara recovered. Although her physical wounds healed, the pain of her family's neglect left a deep scar on her mind. She realized that blood relations were not everything. There was no point in forcing relationships with people who had abandoned her in her time of need. Sara distanced herself from her old life and those relationships. She changed her phone number, unfollowed her family members on social media. It wasn't easy, but she knew it was the right decision for her. Mrs. Jenkins and Mr. Davidson became Sara's new family. Their love, support, and selfless help gave new meaning to Sara's life. Sara celebrated Christmas with them, participated in Thanksgiving dinners. She felt that these people were her real family. Sara asked Mrs. Jenkins, "Mrs. Jenkins, can I call you Mum?" Mrs. Jenkins, with tears in her eyes, replied, "Of course, my dear. You are my daughter." Sara resumed her graphic design work. She became even more creative because her mind was now at peace. She knew that she had people by her side who truly loved her and wanted her well-being. This incident taught Sara how valuable the sympathy and love received from strangers can be in difficult times. Family is not just about blood ties. Family is about the people who love you, respect you, and stand by you no matter what the relationship. In this unknown city of Sacramento, Sara found her new life, a new family, stronger than any blood bond.